Hi, I'm Ron Howard. You're watching the Sci-Fi Channel.
This week on Sci-Fi Buzz, Ed Wood's buddies gather to remember Hollywood's worst director. Fantasy adventure author Terry Brooks. The private side of horror legend Vincent Price. And the special effects sorcery behind the dragon in Dragonheart.
I hold you to your vow, knight.
Prepare the buzz.
Sci-Fi.
Ready.
Come on, dragon.
What happens when you take a mythical creature, use state-of-the-art computer graphic imagery, and mix in the voice of a legendary Scottish actor? You get Draco, the 18-foot-high, 43-foot-long star of the motion picture Dragonheart.
Hello.
The film's unusual story of a man and dragon's unique alliance almost never made it to the screen. According to director Rob Cohen, the Dragonheart script floated around for years. You see, no one quite knew how to bring its fire-breathing star to life.
When I came aboard, I was very lucky because right after I did, out came this small movie that no one ever heard of called Jurassic Park. And once I saw what Mr. Spielberg and Mr. Murin and ILM had done to make a creature walk and stalk, I thought, if it can walk and stalk, can it talk?
Cohen then turned to Industrial Light and Magic Scott Squires to create the digital dragon.
How do you decide how it's going to move? That's part of the problem with this. Since we're dealing with the dragon, it's not real, so that we can't really refer to too many real things. We want to make sure that he comes across as the character and give him weights as he's moving the rocks, and he's interacting, and as he's flying, he's really got to pump his wings to stay afloat. He's not just floating, which would be very easy to do in computer graphics.
Out of the way! Out of the way! Out of the way!
Of course, Draco does more than just fly. He also talks. Veteran actor Sean Connery lent his distinctive vocal talents to create a voice for the mighty beast.
When you know Sean's going to be the voice, do you give it a Sean Connery style, the dragon?
We tried to, yes. I mean, that was an idea from the start because we knew Sean was doing the voice, and Rob wanted to incorporate some of Sean's mannerisms into that.
Give me examples of what you're talking about there.
Well, certainly if he was romancing Kara on the stone, he's got certain eyebrow locks and certain things he does with his eyes. So the animators would take a look at that and try to incorporate little pieces of that into there.
You should never listen to minstrels' fancies. A dragon would never hurt a soul unless they try to hurt him first.
Draco has a kind of wonderful indirection that comes from Sean that's then followed very quickly by change-ups of incredible intensity, So on one hand, he can be saying, yes, what was he like, this dragon that you hated? And then, Iron was no innocent. He polluted the heart. And he can, so Sean, with all of those wonderful change-ups that he can do, we took advantage of those in terms of the script, the reading, and how we animated the dragon.
Neither Connery nor the computer-animated dragon were anywhere near the film set during principal photography. That meant Dragonheart star Dennis Quaid often had to deliver his lines to an invisible co-star.
The way he would direct me is that, here's your task in this scene, and here's what the scene is about. Emotionally, we would do that. And he would play Draco and do Draco's lines, because we couldn't use Sean's voice, because it had been like pressing play on the recorder, and trying to do a scene with that. Now I'm having false memories of the dragon being there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I can imagine him not being there.
Yeah.
I myself believed it. And I was there working with the tennis balls on sticks, that was the dragon.
Dragonheart flies into theaters this weekend.
Let me help you with that, Jamie. Just put your hand right in there.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's fine. Hey, Buzzers, welcome to Sci-Fi Central. Mike Jarrett here. Hey, first of all, this very day is Clint Eastwood's birthday, one of my favorites. 66 years old today. Dave, you want to go ahead and do it?
Go ahead. Make my birthday.
Nicely done. Well, our first story tonight on Sci-Fi Buzz is about another famous director, and just about as legendary as well, Ed Wood. Okay, so he's not as famous as Clint Eastwood, but we got to know him pretty well a couple of years ago when Tim Burton made that movie called Ed Wood. Of course, Ed is famous for his low-budget films of the 50s, rather inept films, I might say. Well, will we ever forget him? You would think we would, because, I mean, the guy is dead, and his films are very obscure. But his co-workers and friends will not let us forget the memory of Ed Wood.
Those fingernails have got to go.
You know, I didn't realize they're as long as they are.
These are classics. They're terrible, horrible pictures.
World.
That's nothing from this world.
He's not a boring filmmaker. He may be a bad filmmaker. He may be a clumsy filmmaker.
You see? Your stupid minds. Stupid! Stupid!
Ed was a dear friend. He was a loyal friend. And a damn good Marine. Good fighting man. Even if he did try to borrow my pantyhose.
Welcome to the wacky world of Ed Wood. And it was here in Los Angeles that an Ed Wood Love Fest was held in celebration of the world premiere of the new documentary, The Haunted World of Edward D. Wood, Jr. The film is a fascinating peek into Wood's life and is chock full of rare footage, personal family photos, and Ed Wood associates talking on camera for the first time in decades.
And when we first approached the people, nobody wanted to do it. It took us a long time to get Vampira to sit down in front of the cameras because they said, I don't want to be made fun of anymore.
I looked at the script and was about to rehearse with myself. Oh, I was unable to say the words. They wouldn't even come out. I was so offended by the dialogue.
Many of the same folks that appear in The Haunted World of Edward D. Wood, Jr. came together for the movie's premiere. One of them, the Reverend Dr. Lynn Lemon, who played a minister in Plan 9 from Outer Space, has become something of a celebrity in his Texas hometown.
It is always difficult to have last words over the grave of a friend.
I show it to my church people. I have them in for a party and show them this film, and they get a bang out of it.
For some fans who were lucky enough to get a ticket to the night's sold-out screening, it was a night to share your strangest Ed Wood fantasy.
See, I don't know about the rest of these people, but I'm adopted, and I just foster a weird hope that maybe Ed Wood Jr. is my real father.
Other Wood fans relished the opportunity to mingle with stars, purchase exclusive merchandise, and screen the debut of Wood's first picture, the recently rediscovered Crossroads of Laredo. Highlighting the evening were stories about the one-of-a-kind director from Wood's colleagues.
But while he was in combat, he had a girl with red bra and panties on under the combat fatigues. And he told me, thank God, if I'm going to die, I have to be killed. I don't want to be wounded because I can never explain the red bra.
And he always wore a suit and tie when he directed. And all the time that when it got hot, he took the jacket off. But I've never seen him anything but a white shirt and tie and pants. So it's a big fallacy how Ed dressed.
There still may be some disagreement about Ed's choice of fashion, but Wood's associates do agree that this new documentary paints a more accurate portrait of the director than the 1994 Tim Burton film.
I saw the film that they did on him, and I didn't think that the young man that did the part of Ed really did the Ed that I knew. I thought they made him look like a flake, which he was not a flake. He was just a poor, broke guy trying to make a buck in Hollywood any way he could.
This is Chris Tripoli in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, and I'd like to recommend to everybody James O'Barr's The Crow Dead Time series, published by Kitchen Sink Comics. A collaboration by James O'Barr, John Wagner, and Alexander Maliev. It's another story in the revenge motif, told very powerfully in black and white. And if you look real closely, you can even see a hidden dedication to Brandon Lee in one of the covers. It's a worthy story, worthy of the original Crow series, and it's just in time for all Crow fans who are looking forward to the upcoming motion picture.
We've been doing these for a while now, and the response has been, well, to say the least, uplifting and overpowering. In fact, the Sci-Fi Channel, a division of the USA Network, has had to build a special warehouse in Secaucus, New Jersey, just to handle the overflow of your telegrams and letters the bomb threats, all of that good stuff. But somehow I seem to have left a wrong impression among many of you. Many of you think that I'm incorruptible, that I cannot be bought. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. I'm a critic. I'm available for purchase. I mean, you take critics like, say, Jeff Jarvis over at TV Guide, who gave this great glowing review to Star Trek Deep Space Nine and then bum rap Babylon 5, which is a wonderful movie. And nobody ever bothered to mention that Jeff Jarvis happens to be a friend of some of the people over at Deep Space Nine. I don't want to name any names. I certainly don't want to get into his opinions. But I'm not the kind of critic who can't be bought. In fact, I can be bought. I can be bought very easily. For instance, this genie cookie jar here. I thought I would put it on here because I promised my friend Robin that I would show it. And we have here, this is a wonderful book. This is called Spaghetti Westerns, The Good, Bad, and the Violent, published by McFarlane. They sent that to me. They hoped that I would mention it on this show. And so I'm mentioning it, and so I got to keep it, and it's about $45. But the best of all, oh, wait. Come here. I got to show you something terrific. You see this? You see this little teacup? It's just a little silver teacup, right? And over here, there's this little plate that's got this little design on it, right? They don't look like much of anything. But when you take the teacup and you put it on the plate, oh, is that hot? Now, this one's North by Northwest. They also make one with Charlie Chaplin in Modern Times. They got one with Marilyn Monroe in 7 Year Itch. And they got a great King Kong. Terrific one. They're over there, but you can't see them because they're not in the shot. Anyhow, these cost about $75 a piece. They come from France. Somebody sent them to me. They said, well, if you show it on Sci-Fi Buzz, you can keep them. And I said, you got it. I remember Sam Peckinpah, the great director. Once upon a time, somebody said, how could you direct such a lousy film as that? He said, I'm like a good whore. I go where I'm kicked. Well, folks, I too can be bought. Do not hesitate. Do not fall back. Try to buy me. For instance, look at this. This book is called Science Fiction and Fantasy Literature, 1975 to 1991. Now, this book has a listing of every science fiction writer and every fantasy writer from 1974 on to present. It's got a listing of every one of them, and it's got all their books and all the titles of their stories. In any case, I've got this wonderful book, and they sent it to me, and I said, well, I'll show it on the program. And they said, fine, you can have it. And I saved $199. Now, folks, with this kind of a job, the perks are all important. So I urge you, do not hold back. If you've got something you want hyped, if you've got something you want shown on television, send it to me. Send it to me. I can be bought. Now, I will, of course, mention that you sent it to me for this kind of promotion. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to say something good about it. I may say it's trash. But what the hell?
As we mentioned earlier, Clint Eastwood celebrating a birthday today, probably watching The Buzz to celebrate. Now, next week, some other celebs are celebrating birthdays. From The Swamp Thing, Adrienne Barbeau, blowing out some candles. Also, evil character actor Bruce Dern, one of my favorites. He celebrates birthday next week. And if he were alive today, he'd be 256 years old, the Marquis de Sade. Actually, he probably would like to be spanked 256 times, plus one to grow on, wouldn't he? Well, that is not news, certainly. This is news.
Hey, Spidey, how are you? Good, Sam. Look, you see, that's you.
Many of the world's best-known cartoon characters gathered in Boca Raton, Florida recently for the opening of the International Museum of Cartoon Art. Founded by Beetle Bailey's Mort Walker, this museum houses more than 160,000 works, including many of our favorite comic books. Finally, cartoon art gets the respect it deserves. On the opposite coast, the X-Files creators have erected a 20 by 60-foot talking billboard high above the Sunset Strip in West Hollywood. Passers-by are instructed to tune their radio to a certain frequency where they'll hear dialogue, music, and hidden messages from the Fox series. So, although the truth may be out there, some of it can only be heard within a half-mile radius of this sign. Believe it or not, Ripley's back yet again. Or at least her clone will be in the upcoming Fox film, Alien 4, The Resurrection. Sigourney Weaver returns in the lead role, with Winona Ryder along this time as her android sidekick. And who will direct this hot duo? Not whom you might expect. This choice assignment goes to French director Jean-Pierre Jeunet, best known for his bizarre cult films Delicatessen and The City of Lost Children. While Jeunet's cinematic style has been compared favorably to Terry Gilliam's, he's never directed an English-language film, let alone one costing $70 million. Still, Fox is betting that Genet's unique imagery will help resurrect their once lucrative franchise. After Alien 3, it certainly couldn't hurt. And that's the latest buzz.
I get put in the fantasy department in the bookstores, and I'm considered to be a fantasy writer, but the fact is the bulk of my readers tend to be people who read outside the field.
Terry Brooks' Shatner and Magic Kingdom books have made him one of today's top-selling novelists. His latest book, First King of Shatner, recently made the New York Times bestseller list. Worldwide, Brooks has over 13 million books in print. The author has accomplished this feat by writing fantasy that appeals not just to fans of the genre. Brooks snares mainstream readers, too, by infusing fantasy with sweeping adventure in the grand European tradition.
The main influences in my writing come from the European adventure story writers, and I'm really rewriting Ivanhoe and The Count of Monte Cristo and The White Company and Quentin Durward.
So I'm going to read this first chapter.
At one point, it looked like Brooks was destined not to write novels, but legal briefs. Giving in to Midwestern small-town pressures, he entered law school, but he couldn't suppress his creative urges.
I started The Sword of Shatner, my first book, when I was in law school because I was going nuts. And I had to do something to take the edge off of what's involved, because law school is a very intense and unpleasant experience. So I started that book, and then when I got out, I was still writing it, and then I went back to my hometown. I started practicing in a small firm, and for several more years after that, I continued to write this book.
Practicing law by day and writing all night, Brooks took 6 years to complete the book. His dedication paid off. The novel became the first work of fiction ever to crack the New York Times trade paperback bestseller list. But Brooks could not appreciate this accomplishment.
I didn't know anything. You know, I was in a small town in the Midwest. I knew nothing about the publishing world. I had no idea. I thought everybody got on the New York Times bestseller list.
Great. I like it. How you doing?
Afraid to become a full-time writer, Brooks practiced law for another 10 years. During that time, he wrote 4 books, all of which made the bestseller list. 2 of them went to #1.
I was making very good money as a writer, but I wasn't making any money as a lawyer. That's why I was, you know, it didn't make much sense for me to be spending the bulk of my time, 60 hours a week, practicing law for a pittance, and not spending hardly any time on writing where I had a chance to make a lot of money, and that was really what I wanted to do anyway.
In 1986, Brooks retired from law. He penned 3 more Shatner books, and then launched the equally popular Magic Kingdom series. Now he's poised to take the fantasy adventure story in a whole new direction.
Having 2 series has helped me to go back and forth, which is what I do to stay fresh between the one and the other. And in '97, I'll be publishing a 3rd series. And that will give me and it's time. I need to do something different. I've been writing in 2 series for 20 years now.
Those 2 decades of experience have made Terry Brooks finally understand the significance of having his first book make the bestseller list.
I think maybe as time goes by, I look back more and more and say, good God, how did this happen? It was quite the incredible piece of luck you
Captain, it's up to you now.
Captain Kirk may have been dusted in the film Star Trek Generations, but he's arisen from the dead to star in the new Star Trek Generations CD-ROM game.
I think I'll hang on to this. I think the immersion of the Star Trek experience is what the Star Trek fans will enjoy. They get to be the characters, they get to think like the characters, they get to work the problems out as the characters.
Our shields can only withstand a level 5 impact.
In addition to the voice of William Shatner, the game features new vocal performances by the other stars of the film, including Patrick Stewart, Malcolm McDowell, and the entire Next Generation cast.
Klingons must be jamming my comm signal.
But though the game brings Captains Kirk and Picard together on screen for only the 2nd time in history, Shatner didn't once come face-to-face with Patrick Stewart during production.
There was nobody there. There was an engineer, and then there was a guy who had written it. He didn't know how it was going to come out, so we were playing everything like we didn't know how the game was going to end.
Since Shatner worked alone in the recording booth, he had to use his imagination to conjure up the camaraderie he and Patrick Stewart shared while filming Generations.
I merely remembered our relationship that was on the set. Fond memories of him trying to hold my hand, and I would...
And since Bill also wasn't there when Malcolm McDowell cut his tracks, he had to rely on his sweet memories of working with that actor.
He's very foolish. He's married this beautiful young lady, and he lives in not far from Los Angeles, but far enough, you know. And he's got the best of all possible worlds, and he lords it over you about how perfect his life is. So I would remember these things.
The Star Trek Generations game is a mix of first-person action sequences, ship-to-ship battles, strategy sessions, and original movie scenes. We asked Shatner what he did during production to become absorbed in the game.
I think about horses. A good horse is a source of great amusement, entertainment. There was a pretty secretary.
Thank you, Bill. The Generations game is one of several projects that Shatner has been immersed in lately. They include a Showtime miniseries based on his novel Man of War, plus a new series of sci-fi adventure novels, which are part of his own campaign to promote scientific literacy in America.
The literacy thing, including the scientific literacy, is a wonderful avenue to reach out to the youth of today and to say, hey, have some fun reading a book. This isn't something you have to do. This is a television show, if you wish, in your imagination. Read it.
Meanwhile, 2 Star Trek novels by Shatner are soaring high on the bestseller charts. They involve his character, Captain Kirk, and Bill is letting it be known he thinks they should be turned into movies.
I think if anybody had any iota of intelligence, they would transfer them immediately.
This is Jim Burgess from Simi Valley, California. I'd like to recommend a magazine called The Modeler's Resource. For those of you who enjoy building and collecting models in science fiction, fantasy, and horror subjects, The Modeler's Resource focuses on both vehicular and figure kits. Each issue features in-depth how-to articles, reviews of current kits, the latest news on upcoming kits and modeling events, as well as profiles of sculptors, creators, and companies producing SF, fantasy, and horror models. If you have the desire to build your dreams or nightmares in plastic, resin, or vinyl, The Modeler's Resource will show you how to do it.
Happy birthday to you.
Oh, boy, that's nicely done, Buzzers. You know, here on birthday night on The Buzz, for all you horror fans out there, we want to remind you that Vincent Price would have been 85 last week on May the 27th. What a wonderful man. You know, classic face and style. So tonight, here on The Buzz, a special tribute to Vincent Price.
Present me the award, Gloucester, or you will lose your eyes and have to smell your way through the world.
Okay, who can say they've never seen a Vincent Price movie at some point in their life? Price, who passed away in 1993, made 100 feature films and a significant contribution to horror history. Now fans of The Master of Menace can celebrate Price's illustrious career with this new fascinating compendium, The Complete Films of Vincent Price. The book is a look at Price's work both in and out of the horror genre. The publication was compiled by author Lucy Chase Williams, a longtime Vincent Price fan, memorabilia collector, and personal friend of the legendary actor.
I first met him when I was an undergrad at Yale, which was also the school he'd been to, and he used to love to throw his arm around me and tell everybody that we'd been at school together. And we stayed in touch throughout the years. Writing the book was a real catharsis for me. I was able to put all of my respect and admiration for what he had accomplished with his life into what I hope is a definitive work on that life and that career.
The book is a sweeping look at Price's long career from his early days in the theater through the diverse work that made him a top film star.
I was very excited in connection with this project to be able to interview Vincent's colleagues, his real peers among the golden age of Hollywood, people who'd never spoken about him before, all of whom had the first thing to say, which was that they adored Price, that he, and most importantly, that he was a true professional, that everything he did was professional, not just knowing his lines, but his whole attitude on a set, that he had a tremendous sense of responsibility to be there and to do what he did the best he possibly could.
So what made Vincent Price so special and such an enduring icon?
He could move with the times. He could spoof himself on Batman, or he could be the most erudite host possible of the mystery series. He could stay current.
Let me prick your memory.
Of course, any actor with a lengthy career is sure to have his share of forgettable films. And according to Williams, Price would be the first to admit that not all of his films were classics.
There was a book on some of the 100 worst movies ever made, and Vincent was very insulted that some of his films weren't in there. as I say, because he had such a great sense of humor about it all.
One thing that many past Vincent Price biographers have missed is the personal side of the actor. But because of her close friendship with him, Williams was able to illustrate the actor's warmth and affability in her book.
Every time I would see him, he inquired after my family. When she was 5, my niece wrote Vincent a birthday card, which wasn't exactly in perfect English. In fact, her mother had to inscribe underneath it what it actually said. And Vincent was so touched by that, he wrote her a poem, which he sent to me and said, please forward this on to your little girl. It was really charming.
Those who were close to Price also know that his artistic endeavors went far beyond the film world.
I think unquestionably, and Vincent would have said so, his most enduring legacy is the Vincent Price Gallery at East Los Angeles College. The Vincent Price Art Gallery has a permanent collection that's valued in excess of $5 million, and they present world-class art exhibitions.
And for those of us unable to visit this unique gallery, there's always Vincent's other works of art, his 100 movies that can be found at the local video store.
Hey, before we close tonight, I just want to answer some of the letters and postings from you sci-fi buzzers out there. First up, from Delilah in San Antonio, has Buzz executive producer Dick Crew ever been on the X-Files? I don't think so. He looks like one of the paranormal characters. Dick, have you ever been on X-Files? No? You would look at his head closely. He could be some kind of alien. Hey, thanks for dressing up, Dick, by the way. Next one comes in from Scott in Vancouver, B.C. Harlan Ellison is a great writer. We agree. But who made him the conscience of sci-fi society? Hey, nice alliteration there, Scott. Actually, Harlan admits to being an elitist, and elitist can be whatever he wants to be. I'm just glad that Harlan is a friend of Sci-Fi Buzz. I would not want him as an enemy. Great writer, like you say, and if you want to contact him and talk to him more about all of this, why don't you email your phone number to me, and I will pass that phone number on to Harlan. But to tell you the truth, Scott, I would quit while I was ahead. Last one here, I think we have time for one more. 2 women in Florida and 1 woman in Minnesota say, we want to see more of the host. Not until we're engaged.